It was a clash of the Titans at Eden Park in the wet in a run back of last year's grand final between the Chiefs and the Blues. The Chiefs end up coming ahead 25-14, 11-point victory, denying the Blues the bonus point. I did tip the Blues for this game, but I was not counting the Chiefs out. They've had a lot of time to think about that crushing defeat in last year's final. They had a lot of big names lined up on their bench for this game. I thought that they might be planning to run the Blues pack around a bit. They put Damian McKenzie at 15. That's not exactly what happened. They did not shy away from going hammer and tong with the Blues up front. They did put up a lot of up and unders in that first half with mixed results, but really it was both teams going head to head, huge collisions in the forward pack. Both teams having to withstand some serious pressure on their own line. Felt like the Blues were on the worst end of that for the first half, really stuck on their line, defending, giving up penalties, defending, but still they came out of the first half ahead. It felt like maybe they had taken most of what the Chiefs could offer, but that bench was still to come in the second half. And in the second half, a few things happened. We saw Ofa Tuangafasi go off quite early at about the 43rd minute, I think. After that, the Blues scrum did start to show signs of stress. And we did see this last year when that Blues scrum was missing Ofa. It did seem vulnerable. And for that first part of that second half, the game, it was still in the balance. Both teams going at it. The Blues, when they did have the ball, they did seem to struggle to hold on with it. The rain was starting to come down and their handling was quite poor. In that final third, final quarter, the Chiefs scrum, it did start to become ascendant. That Chiefs bench came on and they were huge. They really started to dominate possession, dominate territory, and really turn the screws on the Blues just off the back of that scrum, getting field position and penalties from that. And the Blues, they defended hard, but it was too much to stop. D-Mac was the real maestro in the backs, but this game, it's all down to the forwards. They were doing the hard yards. The Blues, they did get a moment where Mark Talea, he almost went in the corner, but was stopped in an amazing try saver by Cortez Ratama. But beyond that, in the second half, the Blues, they couldn't fire a shot with ball in hand. With the little ball that they had, they just coughed it up. And in that last 10 minutes, McKenzie, he was just able to ice it under the post, getting 2 tries for himself, and really just dominating all of the stats. You can see in the possession stakes, 58% by the end of the game. In the second half, it's probably even more lopsided in their favor. They really did just start to take over. And that was off the back of this really lopsided penalty count. It wasn't just the scrums, but the Blues, they were spending a lot of time defending on their line, just under so much pressure. And when you're in that situation, it's so easy to just give up those offside penalties. In general, it wasn't that ill-disciplined, but they were under so much pressure in bad positions, and that's credit to the Chiefs for never taking the foot off. That's also reflected down here in the defensive stats. You can see the Blues, they just had to make so many more tackles just from that sheer weight of possession. Not a bad tackle rate at 87%, but look at the Chiefs here, 93%, only 13 missed tackles. And it wasn't an expansive game from the Blues. It was very much the classic Blues forwards grinds, just heading it up in the pods. But really what would happen is they'd go 2 or 3 phases, then things would get a bit scrappy. The forwards, they would just start going by themselves, and they weren't well connected with their ruck cleaners. And that was surprising to see, because really for the Blues last year, that was their bread and butter. That's what they spent all their time training and developing last year. That ability to really go through multiple phases with your forwards and stay connected and secure that ruck ball. Some other great individual performances of note. Leroy Carter, he really announced himself this game. He's another 7 superstar coming across to 15s, not unlike Caleb Tangitau. He had really established himself in 7s. And this game, he had a lot of good runs in a game where things were quite tight. There was not many gaps in the defense, and multiple times he made himself known. You can see him here, second on defenders beaten, 7 for the game. Very good effort. Really huge tackling numbers here from all the players, from Blues in particular, because they were defending so much more. Big numbers from Cameron Sawfor here, 28 tackles. Pretty good from Ricky and Dalton as well. Dalton and Jacobson both having big games, getting big turnovers at crucial times. Ultimately, I think the decisive factors in this game were Offa going off early. I'm pretty sure he was injured, because even when he came back later, when the Blues got carded, the scrum was going back at a rate of knots. I do suspect he was pulled early due to an injury and really was not able to scrum effectively. The other factor was, of course, that yellow card as well. That came at a crucial time where the game was really in the balance, and that just put the Blues on the back foot for so long. The guy went off. The Chiefs, they immediately got deep into Blues territory from that penalty and just set to work putting the foot on the throat, and it never really came off from there. Still a very good, very interesting game. I'm not sure if the Chiefs have really created the blueprint here for beating the Blues, but they've certainly proved that they can do it, and they can do it at Eden Park. Keen to see how the Blues will bounce back for this one. But coming up next, we've got the Force versus Artie's Moana Pacifica. Check out my channel if you want to see the review on that.